Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Adams Brothers podcast. Thank you all for joining us here this evening. We are joined here this evening with Dr. Sherman J. Morris and Mr. Tony Get Sensational Sands, and we're going to be discussing the NIL. The NIL. It pertains to college athletes and it's going to be pertaining to high school as well, if I believe.
Oh yeah, high school.
It's going to, and the high school as well. So we're going to be talking to two gentlemen, distinguished gentlemen here that we think are very knowledgeable about this. So Dr. Sherman J. Morris and Tony Sands, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
It's always a pleasure to have you two gentlemen on the show, man, our podcast, man, because we really believe that you all have some professional insights, and we value your knowledge and your opinions on this podcast. So again, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. So let's get down into it, man, because we were getting into it, man. You and Tony were getting into it while we were offline here.
And we don't mean arguing. We don't having a good discussion.
We had told them they should have just rolled tape. They should have just rolled tape. We were ready to roll with it.
Just let you all win, you know. Man, it was a good dialogue. So, hey, man, let's talk about the NIL. I'm not too knowledgeable about the NIL, and I'm looking to get some knowledge and be educated here myself. I think it's all new to all of us. So, what exactly is what is NIL? What is that the acronym for?
All right, let me set the stage, Tony. I'll take the stage, and then we can just go back and forth, just bounce it. So, NIL is name, image, and likeness. Tony, you and I can go through the background on it, how it got started. But more than anything, it's an opportunity for student athletes in order to make money or generate revenue off of that. Yes. But one of the things I want to make sure before we go into any deep discussions is that we have a conversation with parents, right? And those individuals that work alongside student athletes to understand that this is a business. Like, this is money that is regulated. You're going to be 1099 and you're going to be held accountable for any contract money that you earn. And you need to make sure that you have a tax professional attached to whatever it is that you're doing so that you understand and you can insulate it. You can set money aside to make sure that you're taking care of your responsibilities as it relates to any of the taxes or whatsoever. We can talk later about a 360-degree wraparound of a support system and what I would recommend parents do, or those key stakeholders in the student athlete's life to make sure that they're taken care of, because there's a tremendous amount of money that's being exchanged. And folks need to make sure that that student athlete is taken care of, and that they absolutely have what they need in order to either put some money away for later or to be able to live the quality of life that they want, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on around that. I've heard some serious horror stories of student athletes and families moving with the student athlete to new locations, and they thinking that $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 is life-changing money, and that they're going to continue to just make this, and they don't understand the tax implications and all the things that go along with that. So again, make sure that you have a wraparound service around that student athlete. And I'm gonna turn it over to Tony. You can go ahead and kind of chime in.
And as you said, Sherman was a business. It's always been a business.
Yeah,
but it just was a one-way business. Now the business has become two ways. Now the athlete can take part in this business deal. It always been one way. We were labor without being paid. So when I look at it, as I always stated, we were what we consider modern day slavery. You worked us, we got no pay. We get what you told us to do. If we didn't go to school, we would lose that. If we didn't want to practice one day, we could possibly lose that. Even now, to where we've gotten to, like I say, NIL started in California, and the only reason they got kicked off because of the antitrust. That now athletes started saying, hey, listen, wait a minute, hold on. We can get a little smarter here. You guys been holding us back from being able to make money off our name, image, and likeness. Right. What I mean, you could, and understand now, a university had the right to continue to use your name, image, and likeness to make money.
Right.
I was on the plane one time some years ago after I finished playing, and I'm traveling to Lawrence, Kansas, and I look in a magazine. And as I'm looking in the magazine, I'm like, man, this dude here sure enough look like me. Come to think of it, I'm looking like, wait a minute, hold on, now y'all continuing to just squeeze the juice out of all of this, but at no point was I able to make a dime off of it. Goes back to the day that I set the NCAA record, and it goes back to this, to where you can sell 10,000 shirts, but I couldn't have one shirt. I can even.
Oh, you remember? Let me ask you to pause. Do you remember? You remember when you got on campus and they had you sign all those papers?
Oh, yeah, all that was that. And see, because we were never educated on what we were signing, we were giving our rights away.
Absolutely.
Because all we knew, because our parents that went before us never took this journey. So we were first generational people that didn't know, wasn't educated. Ain't nobody talking about getting no lawyer to look over paper contracts. All we knew, we got a scholarship. And our parents at that time, you got to get a scholarship because you got to get a good job. Well, the other parents were saying, hey, we're going to get this scholarship so you can run your own operation. But our parents were saying, go to college. So we thought, hey, we got a scholarship. That was our ticket out of this thing. That's how we're going to move into our next phase of life. But not knowing in the process of this moving, we were selling our souls.
And I've been hearing athletes say this for a long time. I listen to WIOD, and I hear them saying, man, that, they were in college and they were just able to make it, in college. They were hungry and everything. And, they're here making these colleges all this money. Yeah. And they weren't able to profit off of any of this money, and it's making these universities millions. Which was wrong. On the plane. Which was wrong. I think those athletes should have been getting something.
Coming back from a plane, I'm gonna show you what they gave us. Coming back from a plane trip, we just imagine, and I'm gonna use it here. Coming back from when we played at the University of Miami, we came back. We were flying back home. We consider her the money lady. Okay, this lady gets up on the plane as the plane is in the air. She started handing out envelopes.
Was it $15?
Yeah, that's it. So you have to use that $15 because if you got back, we got back Saturday night. Okay, they say, okay, we're gonna give you brunch, so we're gonna take away your breakfast. Yeah. So this is going to be that $15 but mind you, now you just sold out a stadium. You just sold out a stadium. When we go to Nebraska, you just sold out a stadium of over 100,000. When you go to Michigan, but yet and still you give, I'm gonna just say 80 guys $15. That's not.
You had to sign for that $15. Don't forget that you had to sign for that.
You had to sign. You had to sign that. Listen, and at that time you thought that was a lot, so you signed that thing real fast. Yeah, give me my money, and I want to look at it and make sure that it's cash in here, because it was, they would give you cash at that time, and that was another way of them manipulating us as young athletes that we had something. Now, if you was, that dude, things was a little different. And we can say that now because it's, we in this era, we in the new age. We couldn't say that back then. But if you was that guy, life was a little different for you. You understand what I'm saying? So, but for those that had to meet the bare minimum to survive, man, it was tough. I mean, like I told you, you couldn't, if you had to come home, and this back in them days, it changed a lot. Mm-hmm. If you had to travel home because a death was in the funeral, that you had a death, and you was a family that couldn't really afford it, but if you stayed, you had to stay. You couldn't, and that's dealing with parents. If you didn't have the funds, I was taken before the NCAA in Kansas City because I was receiving funds from my uncle at the time. Mike was giving me funds, and Missouri heard about it, and we had to go. Me and my head coach had to go before the board in Kansas City. That's when the office was in Kansas City at the time. We had to go there, and pretty much explain to them what, because they was getting ready to suspend me. So we had to explain to them who was this that was giving me the money, why it was being given to me. And then at that point they said, "Oh, that's a relative." Oh, they never said that. They said you was receiving benefits. Yeah, but it was my relative. It was uncle. So you couldn't do nothing about it. But they bought me before the board just because I was stating that I was receiving benefits. You asked me, yeah. I ain't lying, yeah, but this is where it was coming from. They thought it was coming, in the form of, a booster and things of that nature. Like I told them, listen, I'm from the hood. I was a little smarter than that. I wasn't going to let you get me like that. But I'm glad we're in this age. I would have never, I'm going to be honest with you. If you would have told me back in 1990 or 1989 that we would be at this point in college sports, I would have told you were lying. It's never going to happen.
Yeah,
They were never going to give up that.
Right.
Go ahead, Wayne. What you saying?
I'm saying right.
We would have never gave up this.
You would have never told me either.
I wouldn't have believed it, that college athletes would have been making millions of dollars. Now, with that millions of dollars through this NIL, it's starting to create good and it's starting to create bad.
Yes, it is.
Because
so
now, go ahead.
Let me back up a little bit so that we can start a discussion on how we got to the student athlete model. So I think it was 1950 or 1960, there was a huge concern around player injury or student injuries when they were playing competitive athletics. So they created the student athlete model, right? And they designed it so that it was the privilege. You wouldn't trigger any employee statuses, and that you would not be considered an employee of the university, but that you were a representative of the university in exchange for them giving you a scholarship, room, and board. Now, to Tony's point, it's evolved and it constantly evolves. Just like you heard the basketball player years ago that from Connecticut that was saying, "Hey, we winning, but I'm hungry in the dorms," and all like that. They used to restrict what you can provide. Back when Tony was saying the $15 and this and that, they couldn't give you sandwiches if you was hungry. They couldn't have it. They were down to bagels on cream cheese versus peanut butter. Is it a snack or is it a meal? Because the idea is that they wanted to have equity across all of the institutions. So if the Power 5 at that time, which is now Power 4, which would be soon Power 3, those institutions could afford it. The smaller institutions couldn't. In order to have equity across the board, they wanted to have a series of rules that govern all of that. Now, as we move into this model right now, Bylaw 13, which is a recruiting bylaw in the NCAA rules book, still governs what has to happen as it relates to recruiting high school or college athletes. And then the NIL still structurally cannot be used as an enticement for an individual to attend a university. They're saying, and although to Tony's point, it is absolutely being done. There's no doubt about it.
Look, as Nick Saban said, you can have a $20 million roster, right, but if you paid the wrong people, boy, you in trouble.
Absolutely, but theoretically, right? And the way that the bylaws are written right now, you cannot pay anyone, right? It's after you sign is when you're really supposed to do any kind of NIL deal or deal with individuals around NIL. And now in the House lawsuit right now, the class action lawsuit that's going through right now, that they're trying to negotiate the terms. There's conversations around the NCAA, and this is the part that's very, very frustrating, Tony. You're gonna know right where I'm going. They're getting ready to have a clearinghouse in place to determine if the NIL is out of bounds or used as a means of enticement in order to suppress the market. Because if they bring that into it, you know what that is. I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk on that. Go ahead and speak on that.
I wanted to say one thing too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I wanted to give some context to the audience about this NIL. And I'm reading here. It says, as of January 2024, 31 states and the District of Columbia have active NIL legislation. However, most jurisdictions' NIL legislation does not address high school NIL rights.
Correct.
And it says some states do not allow high school NIL, include Florida and Texas.
No, that's got to be.
Yeah. It was saying at the time, it was saying the NIL image and likeness allows college and high school students to make money by using their name, image, and likeness to advertise in products. That includes things like autographs and ads. I just wanted to provide some context.
But Wayne, I want to make sure that we touch on this because I want to make sure that people will not say they didn't know this, right?
Right.
If you're in high school and you are getting or triggering NIL, you're making money off of your name, image, and likeness. You are advertising for the local Piggly Wiggly, right? And you're promoting that, and they're giving your family some funds or whatever. You're going to have to stay in that amateur status because the minute that you have a form, and you will get this form through the NCAA clearinghouse, and it's going to ask you this question: are you making any money for playing the game? And if you put yes, you're in harm's way because you're not getting paid. You're not getting paid for that. You're getting paid for name, image, and likeness.
But you got to remember that's nothing new to it. That's always been there. But we was never in this phase when they said, because they'll ask you, have you ever received benefits?
Right.
No. That was it was just now that we're moving into this NIL era that they're asking us, and people are saying, now you're wondering what that question really means. Back then, we saw that question, but you wasn't, anybody get paid because we wasn't allowed to. Now that you're allowed to, and then this is what some of the high schoolers got to realize, okay? When we look at how many of these young African-American or young athletes that are on housing, that are on parents are receiving benefits at any point, understand what income in the household means. And a lot of people don't understand that. Understand what that just means. And it tapped on, Sherman, what you said a little earlier about when they move in with the athletes and understanding, thinking that $300,000 is a lot of money within a year of a young guy. At 18 years old, that could be gone in a matter of months once they buy the jewelry and the cars and whatever happens. But once they trigger that part, now when whoever got to go get reinstated and they ask, what's the income in the household? Well, Bob, that's 17, that's in that household, is now making $100,000. Okay. That triggers what? You're not below the poverty level anymore.
You're not getting any benefits.
Imagine how hard it's going to be to try to get back on that when those funds gone and you still need it because you got a bunch of little ones that's still trying to come up through the ranks. These are some of the things that these, like as we said, these parents got to start navigating. Because see, they'll say, "Oh, we got to take that 100,000. We'll deal with the rest of it when it comes."
Not 100,000. It's still because of the taxes. I want to keep reiterating this.
And it depends on what state
taxes. Right, that really is around $70,000 because of taxes, right? And that might be a little less than 70,000 because of taxes. And you have to be savvy enough to either have a tax professional, financial advisor in order to put that money aside because Unc is coming. I'm telling you.
Yeah, he coming.
I'm always
he coming. But our parents better realize, he coming. But you know what? Our parents say, give me that 100,000, I worry about Unc on the back end. I'm telling you, they're going to worry about Unc on the back end. That's why we got to tell them.
That's going to cost them everything.
And listen, you know and I know, and we are hoping that they are that smart, that we do educate them enough. But we know and I know, y'all, when we living in that poverty level like that and we done came into something, and you telling me I see 100,000, but yet I got to give 25,000 to somebody I don't know.
35,000.
He got to wait. So we are hoping that they understand. This is why we're saying these things to him, that you better get educated because guess what? He ain't going nowhere.
But Tony, here's the thing, and you can speak on this, right? Because even if you, and the reason I say it may be 35,000, because depending on the state where you're in, and that state have state taxes, you are responsible for not only the federal taxes, you're responsible for the state taxes because you made that money in that state. If you go to Alabama, if you go to Georgia, all those states have state taxes. So they want their money too.
So
And
the state
they're going to get their money. So all that stuff that you bought in their bank account and all that, when they put a padlock on that, that's
so, let me ask this question right here. Now, when you went to college, Tony, and you signed all of these papers, and you were saying just now that you didn't realize that you were signing your life away, but okay, they got you there. But what are these colleges doing now to educate the people on the amount of money you can make and what you can do and what you can't do? Are they doing any of that?
It ain't their job.
Are the high school doing
Are the high school doing any
It's
of
not
that?
their job. Understand? Let's clear that up.
That's what the people need to know.
Let's clear that up. It's not.
You didn't take anything, but now they don't want to explain.
Listen,
to
the only thing I knew I looked at, the only thing I looked at when I signed mine, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's two words I looked at. I looked at the university. This is the University of Kansas, and where the signature line. That was it. I didn't read through all the fine print because all they doing is they back then they were faxing that thing to you. So the fax machine looked kind of ruggish. So you really didn't. Hey, listen, you got to hurry up and sign it because we got to get it back. Okay, yeah, because I want to make sure that my name get on the roster. But now we're in an age of educating. We didn't have this education when we were coming along because our parents, the majority of our parents didn't go to college that enough. And then those that went to college didn't play sports as much. So we were first generation. We led this thing. We started this thing. Now we're in an age now to where a lot of the athletes' parents that done played sports. So we're educated a little bit on it. But even being a college athlete and going through the process, you still get lost in the blueprint. That's when, like Sherman said, you need to go out and find somebody that specializes in this. You need to go get you a financial advisor. Yeah, we couldn't get financial advisors because we weren't making no money anyway. We couldn't have agents because we weren't making no money anyway. It was against the rules. Now we're opening up to where these guys can do this. I had a chance to sit in on 2 major NILs with the University of Miami. I sat at the table with 2 guys down there that's making a whole lot of money and making a whole lot of noise, and watch how theirs was how their thing was structured. But not only them being now a part of the NIL through the University of Kansas on their how they're setting up their collective, how they're looking for representatives, and now they're opening up a whole new department within the NCAA, within the NFL, the college sports university that deals strictly just with NIL. Just like you got a compliance department at the college level, you got an NIL department that they're putting together. They're trying to be on the front edge of it. A lot of colleges, you can't afford it, but those that can, in those super conference, they're steps ahead of it. I mean, we watched. I did a couple speeches.
But to Tony's point, and let me build on that. To Tony's point, the institutions are putting in work. Don't because the institution still has a fundamental responsibility to educate the next generation of leaders. It's their responsibility. It's what they're there, right? Education is what they're supposed to do. What I'm arguing about and what I've argued about in the books that I've written on the subject is around a 360-degree wraparound that the student athlete needs. You need mental health, right? That's one thing that you need, right? Because you're coming into a whole lot of money and it's a whole lot of dynamics.
We know. Sure,
you're gonna need
that department's already been activated.
But I'm talking about a specific carve out to serve the needs of this particular student athlete. I'm not talking about having mental health available because I know that's available, but that's not my point. My point is, let me finish my point. My point is that the student athlete that's operating in this space needs, if you're talking about a long-term success, you need a 360-degree wraparound service that Correct. We're talking mental health, we're talking about branding, we're talking about finance, we're talking about academics, and we're talking about the athletic side of it. So those wraparound services to support the needs of that student athlete needs to be intact. I'm not talking about you being able to go, or I'm not talking about a quarter, because I've had conversations individuals around the country like you and they're saying this, yes, we have this. I understand that, but you have that for your athletic department.
But who's
about for that specific student athlete? This is a one-off.
Right, but understand, name all of the separate entities that you just named. Okay, yeah. How many student athletes are making enough money can provide all those separate entities?
And so to your point, I don't think that it's not. I don't think that everybody's going to be a Shador, Sanders. I don't think that. What I'm saying to you is, what is the mission and what is the responsibility of the institution? So, and I hate to do this shameless plug, but this is what I talk about in this book.
You got to put it up, Sherman. You got to put it up when you see it. You blurred it.
Okay, let me see if I can get it up because I got on.
Yeah, it's blurring out.
It's blurring out. So I got a filter on, so it's just tagging me. But what I have in, and I wrote this in the Future of College Athletics: Leadership in the NIL and Transfer Portal Era, right? So in that book, I'm telling that I talk about 4 pillars of support that a student athlete needs. But I also talk about what the leader's responsibility at the institution. If you're bringing me there and you want to teach me great football, right? What is your responsibility beyond the game, right? And so that, to your point, those departments that they building, right, have to have that complete wraparound service a part of it.
But you know what? But kicking back up, you know what they're going to say. We have that already. You know they're going to say, well, we have the mental health. We have that. You can go down there and see Dr. Sushi right now in the hallway. We have that. Okay, we got a compliance department if you want to deal with that. They're not going to, it's not, and I know, they're going to spend as less money as possible. And they're going to say, you are making money now. So if you want those separate entities, you got to use your own funds to finance that. We're going to give you what we basically have, what we basically been using. The NIL that they're creating are for the benefit of the university. It's not for the benefit of the student athlete. And I don't even know if that's
and I agree with you. I think that what you are absolutely correct.
Yeah. I got one question I want to interject in. Are there any known athletes? And I know, Sherman, you're in Kentucky right now. Tennessee. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sherman, and this is going to be a question for both of y'all, but Tony can answer first. Tony, right now in Broward County, or anyone, do you know of any high school athlete right now that is at that top notch, that's capable of being a major honor of the NIL? And also that question will also be for you, Dr. Morris, from your perspective, state.
Not capable is being already negotiated with the University of Texas.
They got mad money.
It's a power five.
They're already trying to speak with the quarterback here at American Heritage.
And that's $1 million.
And they're talking about, you was finna say, and they're talking about in that range of a high school kid already. So what's happening with that NIL and what you're saying is that now, and see, people got to understand when we're saying high school NIL, the majority of big corporations ain't finna go get no high school kid to market their product. That's not happening. What that NIL is going to come from is a booster. And like we said, Sherman, it is the reversal side of enticing a kid to come to their school. What they're, and they, like they said, if they created it, they created a back door to get to it. What they're going to do is, like with this young man, hey, I got a car dealership in Austin, Texas. I want this young man to market my dealership with the intent, I'm a booster at Texas. So guess what? If I give this guy, and I'm going to tell him on the back, hey, listen, you got to come to the University of Texas now. This is what we're going to have for you. You leave early. You come in January, and you're going to have X amount of dollars. You stay through this, and these talks are already being talked about. That's why when they say, and they know this was going to entice. For them to say that they didn't know that you are dealing with young inner city young men, and now all of a sudden you go tell a young man out of the inner city whose family barely making it, and okay, we sit here in Deerfield. You tell a kid coming out of Foxmoor that I'm finna give you $500,000 to come to the university. That ain't enticing. Because when I look back,
gotta go.
I
know I would go unless someone comes with some more money higher than that.
When I walked out that door this morning to go off to high school, I looked back at that in that refrigerator and wasn't hardly nothing in there. And you're telling me you can give me more money now right now than my parents have made in their lifetime?
Right.
You can't. They knew it was going to entice. That's why the universities knew they were going to, and the power universities knew it. some of the coaches that were smart enough to get out of it because they knew they couldn't deal with this new era. People like Nick Saban, I can't deal with it. People like Dabo having a problem dealing with it.
No.
And they're not, because they don't understand. Now you can't control these young brothers. You can't tell these young brothers, like you did with us, you don't get it together, I'm going to send you back to the projects, because that was their word.
Yes.
Hey, buddy, you can't send me back to the project. I have $1 million. You're gonna
send me back, but you still owe me my money.
Look,
right?
hey, look,
and not only that, you send me back my money because I got a contract on that. But let me chime in on that.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know I don't know in Tennessee that there's anyone in this area, because it's different kind of football, right? Full disclosure, it's different kind of football.
Hey, listen,
football. You know what I mean, Tony? I'm gonna leave that right there. It's different kind of football. But the way that it's designed, and I'll use like the smaller universities. Think about high schools as the smaller universities. They're not going to do AT&T, right? But they might be able to go down and do Darwin Brooks' little spot down there, right?
Right.
Papa sauce and all that. So you might be able to advertise and promote for that on social media. He shoots you a couple $100 here and there, that kind of stuff. That's what they're talking about from the high school level. But you think about from a high school standpoint, you're talking about that part-time job. So the idea is that person who is investing in their sport shouldn't have to go and work at the local AM and PM. They should still be able to advertise and promote in order to put some money in their pocket to pay for camps, travel, things of that stuff that keeps them competitive in the environment. I mean, that's really how it's looking from a high school perspective.
Sure, I'm going to tell you something. As I told those who do not know, I dabbed into this conversation with the gentleman a week ago. Probably, I would say one of the gentlemen that was on the cutting edge, but was punished because he did do the NIL before the NIL, and it became publicly known. I had our pleasure to interview Nevin Shapiro.
Right.
And the same things that you are saying, Sherm, you would be surprised. Those are the same issues he's saying. He says it's got to be governed, but it's got to be governed right. And it's shocking when I'm talking to him and he's saying, listen, as I'm talking to him, his phone tinging, ting, ting, ting. And guess who it's from? Parents of young athletes that know he's out and understand that this man, him, took care of a lot of people. So they're listen, if you go on his site, you see guys saying, hey, listen, man, I need you to help me get one of them NIL deals.
Tony, is it okay to play that audio?
Yeah, go ahead and play it. Yeah, go ahead and play it. You got it. Go ahead and play it up.
I want people to hear this. This is going to be one. I'm going to play the one with Luke.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. Give me a moment.
And just let me know when you're ready. But that, like I said, it's crazy because, like I said, he's saying the same thing, and he's going to turn it into a business.
Okay, here we go. That is Nevin Shapiro talking to Tony Saban.
Yeah, we couldn't hear it. We couldn't hear it at all.
You couldn't.
Oh, y'all couldn't hear it?
No, we couldn't hear it at all. You probably got it. You probably would have to feed it through your mic or something like that.
Yeah, we didn't hear it.
And typically on these types,
we weren't able to hear it. We could hear it in our headsets.
Yeah, we didn't hear it.
Yeah, we could not hear it.
Let me try it again. Let me try it one more time because I definitely want the people to hear this. If y'all couldn't hear it, I'm quite sure the people couldn't hear it. Tell us if you can hear it right now.
No, sir.
Still can't hear it.
No, sir.
No,
I can't.
Well, let's continue the conversation as y'all work through that.
Just let us know.
Yeah. We'll keep working through that. One of the things that I want parents to really, really understand, guys, is that this is a process you got to really, really, manage. Like it can't be, your student athlete leading this process. You really, really got to make sure that you're supporting them. Yeah. Again, if you guys can, if anybody want to send me an inbox, I do have another book called Navigating Gridiron Dreams: A Parent's Guide to College Football Recruitment. In that book, I kind of spell out NIL. I talk about the transfer portal. I give you all the background. I walk you through all the steps of connecting with, how to protect your brand, how to build the brand, all these different things. I want to make sure that parents have a guide to understand, because I've heard too many horror stories where parents were saying, nobody told me, or nobody recruited my son. No, you're responsible for this recruitment process, and you got to make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do as a parent to shore up your child and make sure they're in the best possible position, whether that's going to summer camps, competing in 7-on-7s, academic responsibility, determining how to make highlight tapes. I cover all that stuff. And again, I'm going to make it real, real easy. They sell it on Amazon, but if you really, really need it and you can't afford it, send me an inbox. I'll send it to you for free. How about that? I just want to make sure, especially from Deerfield, y'all don't have to pay for it.
You sent me, was that the copy you sent me, Dr. Mars?
I think I sent you my other book. That was the book that particular book was Chasing the Lion. But I'll send you a digital copy of this as well. But if any parents that are really, really looking to support their children in this process, it really, really got to start at 8th and 9th grade, where you really carving out a plan and a strategy and making sure that you are doing everything you can do to navigate this process for your student athlete. It's on Amazon. Again, it's Navigating Gridiron Dreams: A Parent's Guide to College Football Recruitment. But I will give it to you for free if you just send me an inbox and say, hey, can you send me the book? I'll take care of you. I'll send it to you, because, again, I want to make sure that parents are empowered to support their student athletes.
And Sherman, you talked about transfer portal. Let's you ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to try it right now again. Y'all let me know, do y'all hear anything?
Okay.
Can you hear it?
Not yet.
No.
Stop.
I got nothing. Nothing.
Still can't hear it.
We don't hear it. We don't know the audience is.
What you say about transfer portal? What do you want to talk about, man? Let me hear about it.
While we getting them ready, let's and we've talked about the NIL for the high school, and the one thing I still find parents having an issue with is just navigating through this transfer portal.
All right, let me lay the groundwork before you get into it.
Hold on, I want to. If you look at the Chicago Bears, okay. If you look at, and this was on the cutting edge when it was the cutting edge, the Chicago Bears running back, Khalil Herbert, went to the University of Kansas, went to my school. I assisted. I was involved with the process. We got him. He got to the University of Kansas, was balling out. Well, he was getting ready to go to, they was getting ready that morning to play Texas Tech. And he was seeing how some of this stuff was going, and another kid was getting ready to play. And he told the coach, listen, redshirt me. Now, you on the road. Mind you, you're on the road, you're traveling, you're on the road, getting ready for a game. You say, Coach, I don't want to get in. Redshirt. So now, coach is pissed because now you're telling me to redshirt you. I may need you at some point, but Khalil said, I see where this is going. You guys going to slowly start diminishing my playing time. For one of the coaches guys who was from New Orleans, he recruited the guy from New Orleans. He's the running back coach. So I see where this is going. So I'd rather be recruited. I can get another year. Well, they weren't going that route with it. They told him two things. Well, you want us to ship you back home? So at this point, his dad calls me, and I get on the phone. I'm like, what you mean they finna ship him back home? How they gonna ship him back home? They can't ship him back home. If anything, you're gonna send him back to the University of Kansas. You're not gonna ship him home. I get on the phone, I have to get involved in it, and we get involved in it. And I'm gonna show you how this thing played out. We had to look at, I went up there and I said, okay, let's look at how far you're away from graduation, because that had to be the key. How far, Khalil, what's your major? He told me his major. How far you got? He said, okay, we was in the season now. He said, I would have to graduate next December. It would have been not this December, December. I said, we can't wait that long. You can't transfer. So what we're going to look at a major that you can major in right now that'll get you graduated by January. That summer, you'll be heading off to Virginia Tech. Because it wasn't Virginia Tech at the time because we had to go through the process. And he said, Coach, I don't know if I want to. I said, oh, yeah, you want to do it. If not, you're going to have to stay here. And I had to go up there to make sure that they still took care of him because they was trying to take his study hall away from him. They was trying to take his meal stuff away from him. I said, no, we ain't going to do that. I went to calling some of my guys, my people that put money into the university and said, nah, y'all ain't going to treat him like this. Not him. I flew out the next day to go up there to be with him to make sure. I say, listen, y'all going to continue to give him his study hall and you're going to continue to give him his meals because they were trying to pull it away. So we got him graduated. That was the key thing, is to get him graduated, because if he didn't graduate, he would have to sit out. We got him graduated. That's before we got into where we at now, even deeper. He graduated, was able to go to Virginia Tech, led the ACC in rushing, got drafted by the Chicago Bears, having fun throughout the NFL. But that was if he didn't have the support, and that goes back to what Dr. Sherman was saying. Hey, listen, you got to have a support system that knows the ins and outs. Because if he didn't understand that, and he was going, I told him, I said, you could take that major in grad school. But right now, we got to find a major to get you graduated because we got to get you out of here. Because right now, it ain't a happy place. This ain't a happy camp place for you. And they ain't going, right now, it's all in the media. I done got involved, so we got to get you out. And the way that we got to get you out, we got to know the rules. We had to understand the legalities. We had to get involved. I had to call people at the NCAA to get on top of it to make sure that they wasn't going to take his meal. This was my alma mater. It was a new regime. It was another old regime, not the regime that we have now, the new AD and the new head coach. It was other guys. Some of the guys.
Let me try it again, too.
Huh?
I want to try it again when you finish.
Okay, go ahead.
I tried it a new way. I'm gonna do a new way.
Can you hear it?
No,
I don't hear it.
no, we got nothing.
That's crazy.
But Tony, what year was that you had this incident? Because it's evolved a little bit.
Yeah, it's evolved since then. But I'm saying he was on the first. He was that first year that there was the transfer portal. So we were navigating, and because you still had to graduate. If you wanted to move on, you still had to graduate. So now, we in this era, you can do what you want.
Yeah, you don't have to graduate, and you can maintain your eligibility. You can leave. You can follow a coach. Remember, you couldn't follow a coach. They had all these restrictive measures, right?
Yeah.
So
but not only that, I'm gonna show you how murky the waters was back then. If you tried to transfer, and I went through this with my own son. If you tried to transfer, and you was out of state, but yet still you wanted to come back toward the University of Miami, you couldn't do it because they had to sign off on the schools that could recruit you. Yep. That's how controlling this system was at one time. I'm happy that the control now is a mutual thing. It ain't a one-way thing, because that way it wasn't it was a dictatorship, because they dictated everything that went on. We had no power. And that's what is driving these old coaches that can't adjust to this new system, is driving them out. We saw Nick Saban just said, quit. I'm out of here.
He just threw his hands up and left.
Yeah, that's a whole new thing of student athlete empowerment.
Yes.
Right? The whole student athlete empowerment. So that whole idea, the way that it kind of works right now, and you know this, Tony, is that you have the ability to transfer twice, right? You can absolutely transfer twice and maintain your eligibility, but it is a double-edged sword if you get into this transfer portal, because you better have your deal done before you get in there. Because the minute, and I'm going to tell you right now, to Tony's point, this is a cutthroat business. The minute you say that I'm in the transfer portal, the institution has no more obligation to you. They're cutting off everything right then and there. You don't get no more checks. You don't get this. You don't get that. All that stuff is over with because you decided you enter into the transfer portal. Means that you're gone. Now you can circle back, or if you're that guy, they might still negotiate with you. But if you're not that guy, you're in the transfer portal, every deal is done on that day.
And you can only do it twice, right? I heard you say you can only transfer twice.
Yeah, right.
But during your 4 years.
Yes. Right now they're pushing toward the 5-year eligibility, but that's another conversation.
Sir, wait, hold on, sir. No, it's 8 and these boys getting 8 and 9.
What?
8 and 9 years of eligibility.
Oh no, that's because they got injured.
Stop.
That's not injury, bro.
Some of these boys playing on 6 years. Some of these boys playing on 6 years. I'm like,
no, that's because they got the COVID year. They got the COVID year. They got the COVID year, and they got injured.
How do you get 8?
Because you don't play for 8. But here's what they're saying.
This man has been around for 8 years.
Let me explain to you. So what happens is this: if you have a documented injury, something that you can absolutely document, the NCAA, and it's a tedious process. I've written paperwork for student athletes many times. You can give them eligibility, but you only have eligibility to play 4 years. The conversation that they're having right now is around eligibility for 5 years, right? Because they're trying to extend that relationship right now because the high school student athlete, because of the transfer portal, is being hurt. Because the high school athlete, if I got 25 and they're trying to increase the scholarship number so they can get more high school athletes, because what's happening is this: the high school student athlete is having to play down a division because it's no longer 25 that you can sign, right? 28 under certain circumstances, 27, 28 under certain circumstances. But now that 25 is down to 17 because I need to fix my problem right away. So I would rather go get me a college player that's in the transfer portal than take a high school kid, especially if you're talking about in between the tackles. If I'm looking at a lineman, offensive defense, he needs to be a 21-year-old grown man that's spitting fire in order to play against other grown men that's spitting fire. I can't take a high school kid. He got to be rarefied that he can play in between the tackles because it's different in there.
So back in our day, like if you went to Deerfield, if you lived in Deerfield, and if you wanted to go play at Fort Lauderdale or Dillard, you had to have an address.
Yeah, not anymore.
No.
Or the coach had to agree.
They can just go anywhere, like American Heritage and St. Louis.
Now they can. Well, I'm going to tell you where a lot of that. I was around when that got kicked off about the transfer rule. At that time, Irving challenged. Mike was the first person in Broward County to challenge the transfer rule. We went to court on it. He went to court, and that's when they were saying you couldn't transfer from private to public or public to private. You can transfer public to public or private to private, but you couldn't cross the bridge. Mike went to court on this case. He was leaving Piper at the time. He was leaving Piper. He was in his junior year, going into his junior year of trying to become eligible to play at St. Thomas. Well,
I remember that now.
Boy, y'all Raiders is different. Y'all Raiders is different, boy. Y'all gonna do it. Won't y'all do it? Them Raiders gonna get it done. I love the Raiders.
Hey, listen, man. Stop.
I'm just saying, bro. Hey, I love St. Thomas, bro. They got my guys working there right now, so I'm good.
Wait a minute, hold on. If you raise up your wrist and raise up your hand, some of that Raider blood did run through you at one point. So
I know, that's why I say I love them.
I love St. Thomas. Some of that blood ran through you.
Yeah, I love St. Thomas. I got great fondness. I remember I coached the head coach and I coached the AD. So I love St. Thomas. I got great fondness, but I'm a Deerfield Buck now. You know that now.
I know you Buck pride. It's hard to pull you. Listen, I'm not.
You know I got to give y'all the business. You know that. But I love the Raiders. But I know that the Raiders gonna get it done.
Yeah, so
hey, about that business now.
Buck pride is like I say, that's a strong. That's really when you look at Broward County, that was the only really at that time the thorn in St. Thomas's heel that it was some. At one point, y'all was winning more games and that head-to-head matchup than St. Thomas was.
Yeah.
Then some things changed down the line, but that's for a whole nother topic. But when he challenged the rule, Mike challenged the rule, but he lost the case. So the judge sat him in the courtroom and said, okay, you can do this. You can stay at Piper High School and you can play. Or you can go to St. Thomas and sit out. My grandfather looked at him and said, son, I love that institution and I love those people. I would prefer you And now, mind you, my grandfather is falling now with terminal cancer when all this process is going about. He said, I would prefer you to go to St. Thomas and sit out, and I'll be able to watch you in another year play over there. I just feel the education system over there is better, and the structure for you is better for you. That's why I always tell people, private school is not for every kid. Understand that. Every kid some kids try to rush to these private schools. Private school is not rush for kids. I know kids, I've told parents, don't go there because it ain't, your kid don't need it. They can survive. And he went there with the intent, his biggest goal was to let his father see him play. The Tuesday before he had to play that Friday, my grandfather passed, so he never got a chance to see him play over there. But he fought tooth and nail for him to get there. So at that time, like I said, you couldn't do the move and the address, all that stuff. You can do it. Now, I know because same thing. I had to do it with my own son. When when Coach Jackson Sherman left Monarch and went to Creek, Lou went to Piper. My son was there, and I'm sitting there saying, I don't know about this. I don't know who they bring. I said, well, let me wait and see who you're going to bring in first. And then they didn't bring in the mine. I said, well, you know what? We're going to get us a place down there in Lauderdale. I'm gonna rent an apartment down there in Lauderdale, so that way you can go to Piper and you can play. We stand there. You can send the community liaison to the home. Yeah, this is where we stand. And that's how that's how a lot of that stuff was for nigga. Now you ain't got to worry about it. It's almost a wild west. You can transfer from one school to the next.
Yeah.
You know, I'm at this school this year, but and even in that, parents got to be careful of that because it's not looked, even though they do it at the next level, it's not looked fun upon.
Right. And let me speak on that.
Yeah,
one of the things that kids got to be careful of, and again, I'm talking to the parents to make sure they understand this. When I'm lecturing or trying to prepare recruiting staffs, that's one of the key data points, right, that I'm looking for. Because if your kid is transferring to multiple schools in high school, how you do anything is how you do everything. And the minute he faces adversity or something goes bad, he's going to transfer from our institution. And my success as a football program hinges on me retaining 85% of my roster of the guys that I need in order for us to win. And so if your kid is transferring multiple schools, I'm a red flag that kid.
Yeah. See, and they don't realize
that's like a job. You know, you go from job to job. People red flag you. Also, you know, they look at you from going to job. They'll hold that against you when it come up to a promotion.
You better be that dog.
Same concept.
You better be that dog. If you're gonna make the moves, you better be that dog.
And Wayne, to Wayne's point, it is a job. And that's the part we got to come to terms with. Like Tony said, to Tony's point, this is a business. And when you start recognizing that college athletics is a business, and you start treating it like that, you're gonna be in a much better position. Because you got your business is performance on and off the football field, right? Or the playing field, regardless of sport.
You're going on, and I just tell them, you're going on an open interview. You're going to interview when these colleges come to you, meet with your parents. God, this is an interview for both. Take advantage, have your knowledge when you're meeting with them, because guess what? They got their knowledge on how to deal with you. They've been educated on how to come in your home, how to come in the different homes, how to go into African-American homes, how to go into Caucasian homes. They deal with them different. You know, when they know when they deal with our people, they're educated. You go through the mom first. When they deal with Caucasians, they deal with the dads.
Tony, let me share a little bit about how I train coaches. So when we're doing our evaluation, and I'm teaching them how to evaluate talent, obviously I'm teaching them how to write it up so that we know what we're getting and know that it fits in our system, regardless of the institution. But beyond that, what I'm also teaching them is, did you go and you scrub his internet? Or did you go and pull a report on his internet activity? Because we have software programs that scrubs all of your social media activity. And not only do we scrub your social media activity, I get to see what your friends are saying, because you might not have posted on yours, but your homeboy did. So I'm going to go and scrub him, and I'm going to find everything, and I'm gonna capture your facial images. Yes, we do this all the time. I'm gonna capture your facial images, and then I'm going to run it through that program, and it's gonna find every picture that ever existed on the internet of you. So that one when you was
that is a caution. That is a caution right there too.
Yes,
The
yeah, I
kids,
get all that.
be
I
careful
got to
what you
know.
post. Listen to what Dr. Morris is saying.
Sherman, I'm gonna elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, go ahead.
I met with, and last week, as a matter of fact, I met with an important gentleman in the city of Deerfield. When I met with him, the first thing he said, man, I follow you on social media. He said, I like what you put up. And then this is the kicker that caught my ear. Okay, yeah, you follow me, that's cool. But then he said, because you know, I'm on one of them like the recruiting sites. That means he's on one of those youth league sites, like the No Feelings and all those sites, to where this thing gets really murky. And this is why I'm telling people, don't think that people are not following these young. You tell these young athletes, I tell them when I'm speaking and I'm even evaluating, getting guys, trainers, and understand. Listen, guys, please always keep. Everybody like music when they're playing their videos. Keep your music clean, because remember this: a person that don't like cussing ain't gonna ain't gonna watch your video. It could be the greatest video in the world, but the profanity that is being used on it, they're not gonna watch it. Now, a person that likes cussing will watch a clean video with clean music.
So let me pause you right there, Tony, because let me do this, because I've watched thousands of hours of videos of high school videos, right? Because again, on the average year, you go from 20,000 athletes that fit what you want to do down to 25 athletes that you're going to sign. And in that, I'm never listening to your videos because I don't care.
They tell you that.
I don't care. I don't. As a person that's recruited some of the best athletes in America, I'm telling you right now, I don't care about your videos. And every time that you stop action and with the man and biggin man and all this other and the womb pow and
don't even worry about putting.
I don't care about any of that stuff. At the end of the day, only thing I'm gonna answer two questions. Is he good enough to play here? Does he make us better on day one? And I'm gonna know that in probably I'll know that in 6 seconds or less. Because I've been doing it for so long. I'm gonna watch 6 seconds of it, and in the first 6 seconds, I don't see what I need. I gotta go. Because I got to get to the next great one. And in
93 and 94, right before I departed Kansas, we looked at a running back when I was coaching the running back. We looked at a running back. We loved the kid. But the one thing that pulled us off this kid, it wasn't the kid's ability. It wasn't what the kid did. It was his parents that drew us to where we said, nah, we don't want the headaches, because we saw it coming. Because we had to ask people about it. When we went to the school, we asked, let me pull this custodian to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull this custodian to the side.
Speak on it.
What you think about this kid? Man, he good, man, but his parents them crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start hearing a custodian tell you that, because see, the coach is going to give you the good side, because they want to. It looks good on their record for that head coach to get that kid out of there, to get that kid signed. Hey, listen, I signed this man in my class. But that custodian that has no skin in the game is going to tell you that information. The NFL doesn't.
Tell about the cafeteria lady. Don't forget the cafeteria lady. Cafeteria lady. You got to go to the cafeteria lady.
All these people that has nothing in the game. Teachers, they have something in the game because they're going to say something positive because you went through their classroom. But that custodian, them cafeteria people, all the people like that, security, the security going to definitely, don't listen. Don't do it.
One last one you missed. Now talk to about going to the rib shack or to the barbecue shop, about the barber shop. Yeah, because they going there. Because if you ain't with those two, you ain't recruiting.
Hey, the NFL do it. When I was coming out, the NFL went in and interviewed somebody that I lived by.
Yes.
When I was in middle school.
Yes.
They said these people came by here to ask some questions about you.
Yeah.
Because there is like you say, it's a job. I'm investing in this young man. Can this young man come on this university? First of all, make us look good and make us better. Period. Mm-hmm. Do not And I tell kids all the time that there's certain things that you just don't compromise. Don't compromise your name.
Yes.
And don't compromise that university's name, because those are the first two that's going to get you, as we would say back then, a bus ticket home. Now they're on a bus ticket home, they're flying home. So it's a little different. But I'm telling you, the game has changed, and as it has evolved, our parents got to get educated. Right. I'm liking to see when I go to youth leagues game, and I'm glad of this from one standpoint, but not at another standpoint. I'm seeing so many parents, grandparents. So with it being said, everybody is getting this. They getting this notion that, hey, boy, something here. See, when we played, I could count on my fingers how many times my mom came to a youth league football game that I played in. Man, I used to have to catch the bus. My mama, hey, you better get on that bus. But now, listen, they got more invested in them, and that from that standpoint, I love it. We got to get more of the men,
yes,
involved in that from a standpoint of, hey, I'm here just to educate my son and not for what the other dark side that comes with our community sports. But like I say, you gotta educate yourself. You gotta get educated, because guess what? If you are not educated, the person that you're sitting across that table from is educated, and it's going to be about education.
That was our whole thing here this evening. We wanted to. Dr. Mark reached out, man. He said, man, we need to educate these parents and these athletes, man, because
they see dollar signs.
It's all they see is money right now.
They don't understand
the
rules.
Money that they'll probably ever see. Some of them won't make it to the next level. And
that's the dark side.
They're trying to get what they can get right now.
And I got a guy, Henry Crockett, went to Ireland, and that's one thing he said. He said, I'm seeing too much bling bling and not enough heart.
Yeah.
I'm seeing too much bling bling. These guys are blinged up everywhere. He said, man, they had chunks big everywhere. And I didn't see enough heart on that football field. He said, I just didn't see it.
He's still doing the scouting thing, right?
No, that's Zach.
That's right.
Henry runs his nonprofit.
That's right.
Zach is with the Packers. I know he was with the Raiders, right? Is he with the Packers of Tampa Bay now? One of those.
I thought it was Chicago now. I thought it was Chicago. It ain't the Packers. I know that.
Okay, yeah, because I know I remember when he was
originally with the Raiders.
So and I hate to change subject, but as you was talking, Daryl, it made me think of this, and I want to make sure I cover this, because I want to make sure that we are empowering parents.
Right.
From an academic standpoint, I want to spend a few minutes on academics. You still have to make sure that your child is taken care of, because it's okay not to know, but it's not okay not to try. You're talking to a person right now or you're looking at a person right now that has 4 college degrees, that graduated Deerfield Beach High School with a 1.7. I was not academically sound. I had to go to junior college, and I had to learn my way and earn my way back to these degrees, right? And so the idea that your child may not be where they need to be doesn't mean that you can't work to get them where you want them to be. And that's a part. That means that you got to sit down and you got to have honest conversations with your child, and you got to chart this course starting in 8th, going into 9th grade, because when you go into 9th grade, these grades become tattoos, and you have to make sure that your academics are sound. You got to be thinking B or better in every one of your courses, and you got to ensure that you are taking the right courses to ensure that you meet those 16 core courses, and that you sit for that ACT. And I'm saying ACT over SAT, and I'm saying that because historically, minorities have done better on ACTs than on SATs. And with that being the case, I'm going to encourage you to make sure that you take that and start taking it in 9th and 10th grade, so you get used to it and you can super score, which means that every time that your child does better in a section, that grade will be added to the overall super score. And if you get that 25 to 27, and you're good. But if you're looking for academic money, then you're thinking 27 to 34-ish, because 35 of that top is the top score, but that's what you want to be at. And most of us, and most athletes typically are between 16 and 18. 22 to 24 is good. 25, I tell them most time to hold, but it depends on what level, because there's different levels, and depending on the level of play, is whether you get a full scholarship or a partial. And if you're getting a partial scholarship, then you're looking at, okay, I need to supplement with some academic money. And that's how they piece together your ability to not have to pay out of pocket, because the goal is to be able to secure your degree or your education, your playing experience without debt. Because at the end of the day, if you got to pay for school, or if you take unnecessary student loans, it's easy to leave college in $75,000 worth of debt. And
that's great information to know.
Crazy.
Again, I give all this stuff in this book called Navigating Gridiron Dreams. And again, I'm gonna tell y'all, if you need it or you want it or you can't afford it, it's on Amazon. But if you really need it, just send me an inbox. I'll send it to you. And again, I'm looking for those Deerfield folks to send me lots of those so that I can take care of my family back home.
There you go. There you go.
That book too on here. We want to help you promote it.
And Tony Sands have a book coming out too.
Shout out to the book, Tony.
Yeah, like I said, this, like you said with Sherman, I've written. This is my second book, and I always said, the day that I had accomplished a lot of things in my lifetime, a lot of accolades and things of that nature. But the day that I held my first book in my hand, it was different, because it put me in a whole, to me, from where I came from academically, as Dr. Sherman was saying, not knowing, my first teacher that I went into college said, my 101 teacher, you have to, when you went off to college, that first day you had to take a written exam. Mm-hmm. And then they grade it and they give it back to you. She told me, you will never make it in college. Now, mind you, I'm way at the University of Kansas. She said, you'll never make it through. And I'm like, what? And imagine hearing that from a professor. Mm-hmm. And now you got to walk all the way back to your dorm. You're one that got this lady, so I won't make it here. So all that goes through your head. But the University of Kansas did one thing, and it was a whole slew of us that was critical. Mm-hmm. Basketball players, football players was critical. They brought in a young lady out of California, Chico, California. Listen, I love this lady to death. Kathleen Gable. I give all the credit of me staying on track, graduating to this lady. They brought her in, white lady, headhunter. Didn't play the radio. When I say didn't play the radio, now she's dealing with guys like Gilbert Brown, Dana Stubblefield, all us in this same classroom. Basketball players, everybody that was there in basketball, all of us was there. And all of a sudden, we're in the study hall, and this lady goes to the board. And I remember this day, I'm like, man, this lady crazy. Went to say, we're going to show you, I'm going to take you all the way back to elementary school on how to write a proper sentence. And with the underlying verbs now, man, we're laughing like, man, what? Man, get this lady out of here. This lady thinking but as we got going, man, listen, she would be standing in the hallway like this, waiting on you to get in class. And if you what, she checking. Check, he in class. And I'll be back before you leave. So don't come in here and think you're going to leave out. This young lady helped me so much. My roommate he was from out of Dallas. He was a part of that Dallas Carter team, and he was smart. I mean, Rob was like, he didn't need nothing. Every time I looked at him, he was sitting on the couch with his legs kicked up. We took a 101 exam at the end of the year. And this one I know. I said, boy, I got him. We took that 101 exam. He got up out of it. You know, if you ever look, then you say, like, damn, man, that took a real smart. He done got up out of this room early. He got up out of there within 35 minutes. I'm still in there about 55 minutes to an hour. I'm still sitting there. I'm like, I get back to the room. He was sitting up with his leg cocked up. What happened, man? How you think you did? So I'm wondering, like, over the summer, he got a call and I got a call. And she said, I want to give you the good news. Now, he wasn't in study hall. I had to go out. I went to study all the way through my junior year.
Say that again.
I went through my junior year in college now. And listen, my wife was up there. I said, she said, where you got to go? I got to get up this hill. I got to go to study hall. Miss Gabriel waiting. I know that lady crazy. Had to get up there to study hall. And she called me. She said, I want to which one you want first? This was now, you home for the summer, but they done graded that test and they done told you which news you want first. the good news or the bad news. So I'm like, God, dog, I done failed. That's the first thing I said. I ain't think the good part. I said, God, dog, I done failed. He said, she said, what you want? I said, give me the good news, man. Give me the good news. She said, you passed. I said, I passed? I said, what's the bad news? She said, your roommate failed. I said, oh, my goodness. Wait till I call him. Hey, look. I said, oh, my goodness. Wait till I call him. You were laughing at me when I came there. Boy, you took a long time. Well, you sure you did good? Now, he telling me, listen, to this day, even when I went back to the University of Kansas, when I got honored, she was one of the people that I thanked. That, hey, listen, because without her, and that's where you go to where you say, you surround yourself with people.
She believed in you.
Support system. This lady helped in the class that she had, and she had all at-risk kids. This lady graduated. 99.9% of her kids, the ones that stayed all the way through.
It's about the messenger and how they interact with the kids.
She put her work in, and that's like I said, and that's what we tell kids. Listen, man, I believe that. Surround myself around people that's smarter than me so I can continue to learn.
And that's Absolutely. A good thing to think there. Yeah, I always think the same way, man. You always surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, you know.
You continue.
They'll make you work harder.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's like
before we finish, is there anything else that we need to tell the people that's out there that's watching about the NIL or anything else that because we want to talk about Tyreek Hill a little bit before we hop off of here tonight.
My last part on this is that, again, stay informed. This thing is constantly evolving. The House lawsuit is still, class action lawsuit is still being worked through. So NIL look different, but please, please, please stay informed and make sure that you're educating yourself, whether you're reaching out and getting content from me or from other people, but make sure that you're asking probing questions and you're getting information that you need to empower yourself, your family, and your student athlete, because this is not about 4 years. It's about the next 40 years.
Yep. Correct.
Tony, you got any final words on the NIL before we go talk about Tyreek Hill?
We're going to jump over to Tyreek Hill and get y'all thoughts on that.
It's about being educated. And when you're educated, when you have knowledge, it helps you in situations and help you to get out of situations. So that's going to segue you right on over into your Tyreek Hill. Let's roll it.
Yeah. So everybody, everybody knows that the Miami Dolphins opened up their home game last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and most of the players they get to the stadium early.
Yeah.
And apparently Tyreek Hill was on his way to work at the stadium at Hard Rock Stadium there in Miami Gardens. And the Miami-Dade police, they provide security. And mind you that the Stephen Ross and the Miami Dolphins organization, they pay the Miami-Dade Police Department a hefty salary every year to provide them with traffic control and security there at that stadium. Now, I'm not saying that Tyreek Hill didn't break any traffic laws or anything. He wasn't speeding. I don't know. Maybe he didn't have on a seatbelt. But I think that, and this is just my opinion, that when they ask him to roll down the window, mind you, that there is no law in the state of Florida that says you have to roll your window all the way down.
None that I'm aware of.
They can ask you, and if you refuse to, they can ask you to step out of the car, which that's a lawful command. If they ask you to step out, you have to step out, or they will arrest you for what is the word? They delay in their traffic stop. So we all saw what happened. It was one of the officers came up and he asked him to roll the window down, and he didn't do it, and they snatched him out of the car.
Now he was already. Now you got to remember when they approached him, the window was already down.
It was.
Gave it to him, and then he rolled it back up.
On the phone. He was talking to Drew.
Right. Yeah, he started talking to Drew because he knew, hey, listen, I knew I was, and I talked to a young man that's a deputy sheriff. He said probably when they hit him with the reckless, there's a possibility like he's probably trying to get to the stadium. If you weaved around somebody and weave back in a lane, they can consider that as reckless driving. So he probably did that in that little zone. They start slowing that traffic down, knowing he's trying to get to the stadium. But in this whole thing, you just hope that both sides, and we say it, that both sides take some from this experience. I would never want to say I want to see a person get fired or anything. I hope they take the officers and give them some diversity training or continue to educate them on this, because when we look at this
as well.
Yes, just give them, because when we look at this whole thing, man, in this process, it was, Tyreek Hill, and it played out a little different. If it wasn't Tyreek Hill, as he stated, I guarantee you, once he was pulled out of that car, he wasn't going to sit down on that sidewalk. He was heading to a police car.
Yeah.
It was just that they knew it. You can hear them saying, hey, this Tyreek Hill. They knew, okay, we treading on thin ice. We got to be careful. If you notice, once the Dolphin security guy came and some of them sergeants came on, they knew, hey, wait a minute, hold up. Because
we knew they messed up.
Listen, we understand. Listen, this is who pay us. So we got to be careful that we're not treading to where we've grabbed their star player and we went to this extreme. So I guarantee you, probably one of the things, and even Tyreek Hill said he wants to educate everybody. And that's both sides. He wants to sit down and bring community people together to educate. Because I think through situations like this, we get educated. We learn. Both sides learn. It's going to teach them how officers, because not all of them are bad. I got a lot of friends, deputy sheriffs that I deal with all across the country.
And my son is a police officer.
That are good. Who knows what kind of day this guy was having that triggered it. But it comes down to everybody in this situation. If they can take something from it.
Especially if you're black.
Yeah, it's a little different. I done been down that road, right here in my own city.
I think we all have been talked to, but treated badly by the police. But go ahead.
But like I say, you hope that from both sides, from Metro-Dade side, from the player side, because they're gonna, the NFL is going to, I guarantee you, they're going to send someone down to take the Dolphins player through another part of this training. Again, I'm telling you, that's their being proactive. Hey, we got to tell them, we'll teach them how to de-escalate situations. That's going to be the
maybe leave from home a little bit earlier so you don't have to zigzag in and out.
And we gotta everybody, like I said, because we've seen it numerous of times with our athletes.
Yes,
we saw it happen in Vegas with Ruggs. We saw what happened in Dallas. And fast cars, young people, sometimes can be disastrous. So leave a little early. I don't know if he was late or what was the situation.
It was about 3 hours before game time.
Yeah, so that's you still early. Unless they told him he had to be at a certain time, because that's a home game. So normally, I don't know if he was coming from the hotel or was they coming from home or whatever have you. But you hope, I'm guarantee you, even in his instance of taking something away from here, he's probably was told. I guarantee you, Drew, hey man, just wind the window down. Even though I'm coming out to say stuff against you, be careful here, man, because this could have turned out a whole nother. That could have turned out a whole nother way.
Yes,
it had not been Tyreek Hill. So we're telling others, guys, everybody can't do what Tyreek Hill did.
No,
because those results might not be the same. So make sure that you're educated and understand the situation that you're in, because at the end of the day, you're trying to get back home.
And also they put his teammate.
Campbell.
And who was the other guy?
It was another one. He didn't get cuffed because he stayed within that. He stayed within that 25-yard zone. He kind of tipped it in it, but then he tapped back at it. The police, one was telling him get his license. The other one was telling him, "Hey man, leave." The guy that was telling him to leave understood the severity of the situation. Hey man, just get in the car. But the one guy was telling him, "Man, give me your license." He's clearly saying, "You're telling me to give you my license. This guy's telling me
Yeah,
So
it was two conflicting orders that the cops.
What do I follow? What do I follow?
Yeah.
You know, and that's why once the Dolphins guy got on, they raised him up. Head of security, they raised him up because they understood. Listen, this is the guy that y'all deal with on a daily basis. Y'all head of security that do this. This is who y'all have to call. So you're hoping that everybody in this situation, and one thing I did like about what Tyreek Hill did, he did, in spite of his situation, he shook hands with everybody, all those
Yes, he did before he left.
because he, you know, at that point, hey, let me, you know, because you still gotta travel through these cities, bro. We still gotta travel through Miami. You live in Miami. You gotta travel through these communities, and you just don't want that bad blood between you and officers, because at the end of the day, we're trying to teach our young ones that officers are not, all officers are not bad. No. They're not bad. It's just, you got to educate them.
And I don't think anybody on this podcast will say that, you know, they're all officers are bad, because we know that they aren't. They have bad days just like everybody else, and they're human, you know, but you know, I mean,
but the narrative out there is that
there's some training that needs to be given out to these officers. Some of these officers.
Yeah. They need to, it should be on a
regular basis.
It should be on a regular basis of training. Yeah. Just like they have to go and shoot so many hours a year. You want to do diversity training so many hours a year, because like I said, if you keep reiterating it when I'm in a situation, and one guy told me, this is what a guy told me, a deputy sheriff out of Atlanta, he's going to come on my show tomorrow. What he said to me is, he said, you know what? The best officers that are known to having great tactics and de-escalation are those officers that come out of the jail and then go to the road. He said, you know why? That's why. He said, because when you're in the jail, you don't have guns, you don't have weapons. So you got to know how to de-escalate situations, because you are not bound with the gun inside. You're not bound with the, you got to be able to communicate with people and know how to de-escalate situations. So he said, those, if you ever look at a lot of officers that come out of the jail and go to the road, those are your best de-escalation officers, because they know I didn't start with this gun. So I had to be able to communicate in order to persuade people to believe what I'm saying is correct. Versus when you're on the road and you got a gun, he says sometimes that gives us that power that we got to be careful of. He says, so hit the bait. They say, I guarantee you the guys probably right now, they're probably getting ready to sign them up for some diversity training, de-escalation training. And it's Willie Hurt is going to go on his record and it's possible. He said, one thing we don't want as deputies in departments, he said, we don't want to give a bad name to our department. And right now, when you look at Metro-Dade in this situation, it's a bad eye on them. And you just hope that, you know, through this, that everybody can understand that we still got to work together. They still got to patrol the stadium and make sure that everybody that comes to those games are safe and coming and going. So we don't want, you don't want that bad blood. You want everybody to be educated. And it's about, that's like we said, we're educating on NIL and transfer portal. We got to educate on de-escalations. We got to educate on how we communicate as a people to each other.
So let me chime in for a second, man. I'm listening to the dialogue, and man, I remember hearing the stories. I was not out at West Side Park, but I remember hearing about a young man getting shot and killed by Deerfield police officer when I was a little kid, all right, in Deerfield. And
James McDonald.
Yes, and I remember the feeling. I remember the sadness over the community, right? And the lack of power that we felt, right? Are we a nation of laws, or are we a nation of men, right? And that's what I keep asking myself when these type of incidents happen, because our community is so forgiving of these individuals when they do this to us time and time again, right? We do something, we're held accountable. We want the full extent of the law. We want to do all this. They're savages, they're this, they're that. We're all of those things. But when you hurt us, when you disrespect us, when you over-police us, when you treat us like that, right? Where's that same respect that you reserve for yourself? I'm a black man in America. And I know I have to travel and I got to move differently. But this kind of stuff, I can't give them a pass. No. You're trained. We pay you, right? As taxpayers in the state of Florida, as taxpayers in that city, they receive money. My business is still there, so I still pay taxes and I still pour back into my family. So I'm still supporting that nonsense.
You get some of your federal taxes too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So my thing is this, man. Well, we're having these conversations about this, and I understand that we have to be cautious in the way that we move, and we got to make sure that we're doing the good and the right thing, and we got to be forgiven. All Christian, my faith teaches me that. But my frustration as a Black man in America informs me and challenges me that where's the accountability on the other side? Where are they accountable to it? Time and time again, law enforcement, the very nature, the very idea of law enforcement in America was set aside to control Blacks, particularly Black men or escaped slaves, is what it was about. And so the idea that law enforcement exists in this day and we still have to deal with that. And I've watched every video. My analytical mind, I'm breaking it down. I'm seeing frame by frame. I'm watching them speak. No, that was about ego. That was about his attitude.
Yeah.
About a young Black man that spoke to him in a certain way.
And driving a nice car.
And he didn't like it. And he was going to show him. And he didn't care if he was driving a $300,000 car. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that he was the best player on that team. What mattered to him at that moment is that I'm going to show him the lack of humanity that this nation, that law enforcement have. And I'm not saying it's an absolute, but the fact that law enforcement has a total disregard for Black bodies, particularly Black men, it frustrates me. It disappoints me. It hurts me.
Yeah.
I'm my emotional intelligence is intact, and it allows me in order to understand and operate this, right? But in this space, but I need y'all to know that we still Black men, and what happened that day was wrong. It was wrong, and I get it. But I want that department, and I want that law enforcement officer to be held accountable, because it had been the other way. I assure you that we would have been held accountable.
Oh yes.
And Sherman, and I understand. Like I said, I understand your frustration, but at with the situation, me being done like that, and also having a family member back in people don't realize back in 2007, my nephew was mistaken identity. Police officer that he had an encounter in over there in Dixon Court for years saw him, got behind him. They went on he knew it. He said, I knew it wasn't going to end well. I had deputy sheriffs that was actually hearing the chase that I know who kids I trained said, for a lot of others involved, that ain't going to end good. But not knowing that it was my nephew. Back in 2007, he got shot up on 95 by Fort Lauderdale police. Okay? We did press conference. As a matter of fact, Synovia husband at the time was his attorney. But even in spite of that, and that's what he had, and Daryl said, he had said the same thing too, that Daryl Lewis. He said, listen, man, the one thing we got to be careful of, because that's what they're looking for, is us to be hostile. He said, we're gonna handle this in a professional way. We're not gonna go out. We'll do our press conference. We brought in people, and in spite of that one officer, I can't hold a whole department accountable for the actions of someone that I don't know what they woke up on that morning, what they were doing that morning. And that's where because I deal with so many of them. And I know they're human, like we are human. We want, we done made some bonehead decisions in our lifetime, and we're hoping to not be held completely to the stake when we make that mistake. So hey, listen, I'm a Black man and I understand it. Listen, I went through it. lived through it with my nephew, lived through it with myself, right up there by when I was coming down in Deerfield, where the guy told me, clearly said it to me, if you make another move, and this was personal, if you move again, I'll blow your effing brain out right here. And like I told, and when his sergeants came on, they knew me. So when he ran my tag, at that time, it was a situation going on. His exact words was, when he pulled away from me, I don't like the effing Dallas Cowboys anyway. Because at that time, my truck was registered to myself and Michael Irving. So now, and he had plenty of time, it make me, was I angry? Was I upset in the situation? Yeah, I was upset. But I knew how educated to handle that situation, that guess what? Through education. I called Gloria Jackson at that time. She was the head of the Democratic Party. She used to be my guidance counselor. And I got a chance to meet with that officer and the sheriff and her. And through that all, knowing that, guess what? The more these files go into their record, it hurts them when they're trying to become sergeants. Because if they ain't too many officers want to stay on the same level all their career. They want to elevate. So what happens is, that's what we got to educate ourselves. Sometimes we say, I ain't going down there to write no report. It ain't going nowhere.
But you have to document it, though.
Yes,
I
agree.
We'll say in our community, man, I ain't going down there. I ain't going to do nothing.
You have to file a complaint. You have to go through the proper protocol in order to.
And it's just, in this situation, it was Tyreek Hill. And it brought more light to it because of the situation. Sometimes bringing light to it educates.
And I want to chime in on that too, when you finish.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. From my perspective, I mean, anyone that follow my Facebook page, I always profile police misconduct, and I've been doing it for a few years now, way before the Michael Browns or any of them. I have Eric Garner. I have been profiling police misconduct. I mean, as you said, Tony, if you lived here in Deerfield, and I would say at least if you're over the age of, I would say 47 or 48, I would say during the Deerfield Beach police time, you were pulled out the car and probably had a gun stuck to your head. But my take on this is, when posting the videos, I put all the frames of the videos up. I saw Tyreek when he came through, and he was driving fast through that. You have to say that. And then the officer got behind him. But when the officer came to the car, Tyreek, if I remember right, he rolled the window down, handed him his license. And Tyreek did tell him at some point, hey man, look, if you're gonna write me a ticket, write me a ticket. Well, anytime, if you here in South Florida, anywhere else, if you know once you ask the police here, what am I being stopped for? They immediately look at you, especially if you're black.
They don't like that.
And they do not like that, and they will come at you. But you could tell Tyreek handed him the license. And my take on this is, if he was gonna write the ticket, he should have went back to his motorcycle, what he was on. He should have wrote the ticket. He should have came back and gave the ticket to Tyreek and let him win. That guy, and I'm gonna say this, and it might upset a lot of people, because I'm going by history, and I always go by history. From what I see with my eyes over the last 58 years of my life, and since around 1979, watching Arthur McDuffie, a Marine vet, insurance salesman, were chased on his motorcycle by some Hispanic officers, and the other three was white, and they beat Arthur McDuffie merciless, and they lied and tried to cover up his death.
And that was Miami-Dade PD too as well. Well, Metro
Dade Miami at that time, which caused riots. And I wanna go back again, and I'm going somewhere with this. In 1982, it was a guy named Neville Johnson. He was in the arcade, this Hispanic officer. Now, I'm just saying that Tyreek was a Hispanic officer. 1982, Neville Johnson was in the arcade, and if people watching, they might remember this. The guy came in there. I don't know if he saw a gun in Neville or he thought he saw a gun in Neville Johnson. It's been so long, I can't quite remember the full details, but Neville snatched around and the guy had a gun already to Neville Johnson's head. This was 1982, if anybody want to go back and Google it. And he shot Neville Johnson, killed him, caused minor riots at that time. Then I want to go up a little bit. You had two guys on a motorcycle, Alan Blanchard, and I forgot the other guy name, but he was murdered by
William Lozano.
William Lozano, another Latino or Hispanic police officer. It is a video right now on social media, and where I'm going at with this, for years, it was this, and there's a white lady on here saying that the Hispanic law enforcement officers, and this her word, that they are very anti-black. They are all they do not like black people, and I'm not saying this for all the Hispanic officers down there, but if you look back at history, what I just gave you, most of those officers that involved the killing of black men were Hispanic. Now, again, I'm going back to the video that this white lady made on, and she was just saying.
I saw it yesterday, didn't I?
Yeah, you sent it to me, and I posted it on Facebook.
It's coming from 90 miles south of Key West.
That's right.
Officers that came from 90 miles south of Key West, but go ahead.
And she was saying this, but going back again, now I'm going to fast forward back up because I see a pattern here with some of the Hispanic law enforcement officers in Miami, and you have a lot of good ones. And I'm not painting every Hispanic or Latino with a brush, but I do see some anti-black sentiment against black people, and it's been documented and well known in that city of Miami. But going back to Tyreek, the guy could have just handed Tyreek his license, wrote him the ticket, and left. That guy was really trying to escalate. And I understand, I seen Desmond Wilson said that Tyreek could have got killed rolling that window back up. But again, there's no law against rolling your window up. He was also on the phone talking to his agent. So he's probably was trying, he wanted some privacy and talking to Drew Rosenhaus. Even Tyreek said today that if he had a do-over, he would have handled things different. But looking at the Hispanic officers, look how they were like
aggressive. They said, "I'll break your effing window."
And they pushed him on the ground when he was trying to tell them that he had just had surgery on his leg. Those officers definitely need some training.
I mean,
they need de-escalation training, and I understand what Sherman was saying. I'm just going to say those officers, Tyreek could have handled it a little bit better.
Yes, he could have.
And I'll go on record and say that. But the officers, when you're in law enforcement, you're supposed to be held to a very high standard.
You're professional.
And they know that. So they could have handled that better. So for everyone out there saying about Tyreek, no. And I also heard the officer that Batista, you notice that guy really needs training, and Tyreek called for, I believe, his firing, the guy Batista, but also I read,
was it him or was it
Torres or something? It was one of the two, but I know
Danny Torres
online.
Danny Torres is one of them.
Yeah, online they're saying that Batista was actually working in a CVS or whatever it was 4 years ago, and that's not taking anything away because he could have put the time in to go to school or whatever, to go to the academy. But that guy needs his superiors at Metro Dade need to sit him down and they need to talk to him, because him and the other officers that came out there handled the situation very bad, and they messed up a lot of the money that a lot of the officers that work for Stephen Ross, they messed up a lot of guys' money out there.
May even pull that contract, because
that whole group, and Ross they probably have gotten their names. That whole group he may say, hey, listen, I don't want none of that group working. No more Dolphins.
I would,
but anything.
I want to say this
that you run when you do that.
And I want to say this: that officer, those two, the two aggressive ones, those two officers, in my opinion, they need to go back and check every arrest that they have made in that community. Those two guys, in my opinion, do not need to patrol the black community. Those two guys they need more training. They're going to eventually kill someone that's going to eventually cost the taxpayers of Miami-Dade County a huge settlement if they haven't already done that and caused the payout or settlements. Those two guys, in my opinion, do not need to be on the streets of Miami patrolling the Black community. And I'll say this in closing. Those two guys are a threat, not just to the Black community. Those two guys are a threat to the white community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community, because they were so aggressive hotheads. And that's what I saw. And I'm going to leave that right there.
Well, Director Stephanie Daniels did put him on, Torres on administrative leave. So right away, you know, when the head of security got involved, and I'm pretty sure that the owner Stephen Ross called down there to and had a talk to the mayor, Carver, I think her name, Danielle Carver, talked to them, and Director Stephanie Daniels, who is a black lady that runs the Miami-Dade Police Department. And notice they released the video, the body cam video right away. I mean, that's transparency. Now, that's what they released it right away. And they put this officer, Danny Torres, on. He was the only one, to my knowledge, that was put on administrative leave.
Both of them should have been put on leave.
And the question, so again, the question becomes, if they put them on leave, they didn't put them on leave because they did something right. They put them on leave because they violated some sort of policy related to putting his knee on his back. Policies. Right? All of that nonsense, grabbing him and choking him back so he can get him down on the ground. All of those things. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying they cascade. I'm not looking for that. Right? I don't want to be hung in effigy. I'm not asking for that. What I'm asking is, if you violated, right, just like you wrote that ticket, because Tyree still gonna own that ticket, right? He's still gonna own all of that. I want the officer to be held to the same standards. Exactly. I don't want him to be, oh, come on, oh no. All right, so you got to be better. I'm not for that. At the end of the day, you made a business decision, right? Trust me, I watched all the tape. I see he got a black wedding ring on his finger. I study video all the time. It's kind of my background. So I'm telling you, that particular person right there needs to be held accountable. Right?
And look at the tattoos, Dr. Mars.
Violated policy, then whatever that policy demands, that's why you got to deal with that.
Yeah, but and a lot of those officers also, like Dr. Mars, I studied the officers. I studied the tattoos that they have on their body, because y'all have heard me say on numerous podcasts, you have to go back to the tattoos. A lot of those tattoos, a lot of people don't know what tattoos they put on their body. A lot of those tattoos from those officers are white nationalist tattoos.
But he has, but that officer had that long sleeve thing, right?
Yeah, they got them. Yeah, go back and look at those tattoos. Those tattoos represent white supremacy in a lot of cases.
And some of them, the departments make them wear long sleeves to cover it up. Yeah. That's why you see them with the long sleeves on in the summertime, because they have offensive tattoos on their body, and they make them wear those long sleeve shirts to cover them up. The little dry fit shirts.
I mean, me at my age now, the police stop me, I'm getting out. I'm just gonna hand in my license and registration, and I'm gonna go just walk over there. I'm not gonna, if you're gonna give me the ticket, give me the ticket. But you don't need to sit there and lecture me and this. Just give me the ticket and let me go on by my way.
By law, you only have to give them your license, your registration, and proof of insurance. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to do anything. Once you give it to them, you can roll your window back up. They may ask you to roll it down, but there's no law in the state of Florida that says you have to keep your window down. It's a courtesy to the police officer for his safety. And if you don't roll it down, he could ask you to get out of the car. And again, you have to get out of the car or they'll lock you up.
As a black person, I wouldn't recommend rolling that window up. I would recommend rolling it down, keeping your hands in clear sight, because we saw Philando Castile get murdered in Minneapolis, Minnesota in 2015, and the officer was acquitted. So I wouldn't recommend anyone black rolling that window up. Keep your hands in sight.
Especially when it's tinted.
Yes.
And he has some dark tint on that black Lamborghini.
Because remember, they have qualified immunity. And I want to even go there.
Trump just to give them 100%.
Exactly. It's a candidate out there wants to give the police full immunity. I didn't want to go there, but
Trump.
Just remember that.
Go ahead and call him out, Trump. So
my whole thing again, guys, I keep coming back to it. If we're going to be held to a standard, I'm just asking that those individuals that have quote unquote badges and guns, I just want them to be held accountable as well. I understand as a black man, I learned a long time ago, a little old boy, how to travel in the South.
Right.
Anywhere that I go, I understand as a black man, I have a responsibility to return home to my family. That's my grandfather taught me that. Well, I don't care where you go, what you do. You got a responsibility to not disrespect our family name, and you make sure whatever it is you have to do to get back home, you get home safely. And that is, if that's me saying yes sir, no sir, keeping my hands at 10 and 2, limiting my conversation and my eye, because I'm 6'5". I can't even have eye contact with them. I got to look down. I understand all those games that you got to play, but my number one responsibility is to my children.
But why should we have to? Why should we as black people have to
afraid
always
of us.
feel like we bowing down to them? Why do we have to? Why do we have to feel? It's just like Tariq in the end, and I understand with Tariq. Tariq said he want to. This is a teachable moment. He want to work with the community, and I believe he's like that because I've seen him numerous of times go to projects, and he took toys and resources to white kids, black kids, and they love Tariq. So I know for Tariq moving forward, he's gonna move a little bit different now. You know, I believe he will, and I don't believe he's gonna hold this against the police.
No,
but he did ask for one of the cops to be fired yesterday or today. So
I know Drew was asking for the firing. I know Drew's. I didn't know if
Tariq said it too. I was just reading here. Tariq. I just was reading Tariq. Yeah, Tariq asked for the firing too of the officer.
He also said that when his playing days, his NFL career is over, that he wanted to be a police officer.
Yeah.
So he did say that.
See right there, Daryl?
Yeah.
See right there.
That's cool. Wow.
It says Tariq says he could have handled his traffic stop better, but he still wants officer fired, and that was posted today with the Associated Press.
Yeah, and if you look at the full video, when the supervisor got there, you notice, and I'm sure Dr. Mars caught this, because we all, like I say, man, we all like to watch video frame by frame. Yep. The police officer Torres, I guess that was his name. He asked the supervisor, "You want me to go 55?" And then he was like, "Huh? You want me to mute the mute?"
They muted the auto. They muted it. He muted it on a couple of different cases. He went back and forth. Yeah. He muted it a couple of times because if you notice, he even got caught saying this.
Well, what about the cursing? What about the cursing they were doing? Yeah. In the police code of conduct book, you can be suspended or fired or terminated for the cursing. All the F words that we heard coming out of his mouth. Come on. I mean, I'm quite sure it's a rule in their code book about being disrespectful to the public. Right. What about that? Because we heard a lot of F words come out the guy mouth, and like Daryl said, back to what he said about that 55, what you and Tony said. Why did they try to mute that? That told me right there, those guys know how to get around those body cameras, and that is what a lot of the viewers are missing. People need to watch all of that.
They're quick to say, well, you don't see all of the video and this and that. Well, we will never know what he said, because he muted the audio.
Yes. So why did he mute it?
And that's not transparency.
No, it's
why
not.
would you wear body cam for transparency?
Yeah.
But they allow them to mute it in certain situations where, they may give out a child's name or social security number or something like that. But he just didn't want what he was saying on tape.
Of course.
He asked the sergeant, do you want me to go 55? And he said, huh? He said, do you want me to go mute? And the supervisor said, no. He said, no. Just like that. And so he did. They started talking, but he ended up muting it again anyway.
But the way they acted with the body cameras going, I want everyone to understand the way they acted, and they knew some of the other officers had their body cameras on. Can y'all imagine if they were not wearing body cameras, how they would have acted and how they would have portrayed that with Tariq? I guarantee you they would have lied. I would be willing to bet they would have lied to cover for themselves. But just look at, I want everyone to just watch how they acted with the body cameras on.
Well,
just notice that.
I think when they put video cameras on cell phones, that was a game changer, because video is the witness that doesn't lie, you know, and that's why a lot of cops don't like you to film them. They get pissed off and everything, and you know, they could have body cams on, but guess what? When you start filming them, they don't like that.
No,
they do not like when you film them, and it makes them angry and upset, because that, again, video is a witness that doesn't lie, and that's transparency.
Yeah,
you know. So,
and again, we're not saying y'all see how many times we on here doing our true crimes. We know all the police are not bad, but I'll say this: we need to get these bad apples up out of there. We need a national database to find these bad officers. Look at the one that killed the lady with the Sonia Massey that said she rebuked the devil. Again, we need to get these bad officers up out of there, and I think all of us can be in agreement to that, like Tariq said, and others, and Drew and the Dolphins said. There's a lot of bad apples out there that I think the public would be better served by getting those bad apples out of there and not having the police union continue to protect them. Look at the difference of this case with golfer Scotty Scheffler again. That's what, notice when Scotty Scheffler was supposedly speeding, they were saying, and we went back and we saw the video, but everyone, you didn't hear at that time, let's wait for the facts to come out. They didn't wait. They just immediately started saying the officer was wrong, which when we did come to see that the officer was embellishing a lot of things. So why in this case is it not the same? I mean, I just think that if they had not been for the body cameras, those officers, Tariq, it's no telling what would have happened. And if that had been Dr. Morris, Tony Sands, or Darrell or Wayne, we probably would have been slammed down to that ground. We'd have been taken to jail. We probably would have been brutalized a little bit worse than that.
Hey, listen.
Resistant police.
Yes.
I've learned, when I'm like Tariq, when they get behind me, I go through my Rolodex. I go to looking for their captains and sergeants. Hey, listen. These people behind me, man. Listen. It happened to me. It happened to me on 95, man. And I was wrong because I was speeding. And that state trooper got behind me, and I knew when I came over Atlantic, I just couldn't slow down. I was at my 110, so I by the time I slowed down,
110, Tony, you going 110?
Yeah, so you know that's considered that's automatic jail time, man.
That's reckless driving, man. You look at it and think you're jail for reckless driving.
And imagine, I ain't got on no shoes.
That's another ticket.
No shoes, no shirt. I'm like, oh my God, I got on the bar and said, hey, listen, man, they got behind me. I think I was going a little fast. Yeah. He said, a little, I said, yeah, I think I was going a little. He said, all right, Sands. He said, when the guy, stay up on the phone, when the guy come to you, tell me who his name is. Give me his badge. Guy came, I say, his name is such bad. He said, tell him, I said, go back to his car. He said, yeah, tell him, I said, go back to his car. I'm trying to call him. So the dude wouldn't leave. He said, tell him I'm calling his phone right now. I said, he said, he's calling your phone right now. Man, he didn't answer. They called him on the radio. He went back to his car. He said, hey, listen, man, I'm sorry about that. Let's keep, just slow it down a little bit. That's the exact words. Slow it down a little bit.
You were blessed.
Listen, he said, slow down. So when I got back on the phone with the start, he said, man, they said you were doing 110. I said, man, I didn't know how much I was going. I knew I was speeding. So I said, listen. So listen. I've learned through life lessons. That's why I love training a lot of them children, because I'm able to, I've used it in several occasions that, hey, even when they're trying to, you bring, like I say, you educated enough to say, hey, listen, I know some of your people. We know some of the same people. So, and everybody's, like you said, is not in that situation. So I try to, like I say, continue to educate myself, continue to put myself in a situation. But like I say, with us as in our community, we're prone to running
Hey,
across.
Tony, I don't want to pass that because that's a teachable moment right there, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Relationships are
Relationships. That's what
relationships
relationships
are important, right? It's
Yes.
not necessarily, and I love to share this with him. It's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, who's willing to turn on the table for you.
That's it.
You know what I mean? I just want to make sure we don't. I don't want to gloss over that because if they take anything away from that, from this whole conversation tonight, because we covered so many topics. Understand that in this journey called life, that you don't need people.
You're gonna need people. And that same, like I said, that same officer that I called was a white guy that I dealt with. So it's like you said, it's that relationship that you build, whether it's black, white, black, whatever.
Yeah.
Build your relationships to where when situations may arise, you can call on those favors, and those favors are ready to stand in the paint for you. So relationship.
I tell you,
great
man,
message. Great message.
It's been fun, man, here tonight with you guys. Hey, man, we know every time we call on you guys
gonna bring the
bring it, man. You guys gonna bring facts. Man, we love y'all.
Yes, man, love you too, man. Sherman, we gotta talk.
Yeah,
we
man.
gotta talk. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we on it.
Definitely, man. We gonna you all gonna be regulars on this podcast, man. And
anytime.
We want to thank you all, man, for coming on, man. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, let me say this to y'all, man. I'm very, 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 very proud of the work that y'all are doing, man.
Yes,
the stuff that y'all are doing is not easy at all, but you guys are staying the course, and I want y'all to keep building because, again, we need to hear y'all voices. Y'all doing a great job in our community. Keep staying the course, man. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all work. Continue to stay the course, man, because we need y'all voices in our community, man.
I'm
proud of y'all. Right there.
That meeting I told you about, the meeting that I brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Listen, the Adam Brother podcast set that meeting and several other meetings into motion to where you're going to see change.
Oh, yeah.
So, man,
absolutely.
Thank y'all.
Great job, man. Great job.
Appreciate the love, man. We're
gonna
keep on rocking. We're gonna keep on rocking for Exit 42, man, and that's how we roll here, man. We all from Exit 42. Right. Tony, you live here. You grew up in Fort Lauderdale, but you live here now.
Listen,
you are part of Exit 42.
My wife of over 30 some odd years is from Exit 42. So guess what?
Absolutely.
I'm from Lauderdale, but I reside in.
And you invested here in Deerfield.
This is my city.
You invested here in this city.
Yes, so I love it, man.
You are a part of Deerfield and always will.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Jerry Morris and Tony Sands, thank you both for joining us here on our podcast, man. We want to thank you all for rocking with us, man, and thank you for the love and support. And you're always welcome back on this podcast, fellas.
Love, man. Love everybody. Love.
All right, guys. Be safe. All right, we'll talk. Take care.
Yep.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.
Yes,
thank you.